and stream live now. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, is now being broadcast on NPN Voice. NPN Voice can be found on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now on Audible and Amazon Music, and anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave, the podcast, now on NPN Voice. NPN Voice. Got voice. You heard?
Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon, Suave afternoon. This is Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, and creator. Hope you guys having a suavelous day.
Yeah, and with that, let's commence the pay. Okay, I'm so suavelous, you so suavelous. Together we can fix the trauma that's befallen us. Divine social interactions remains marvelous. Mind-blowing, suavelicious talk, higher consciousness. But think, let not your hearts be troubled. Dr. Brother Suave, divine light give you double.
Greetings, this is Dr. Brother Suave, your mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening on-air personality, life coach, psychotherapist, author, creator, and the host of Social Therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. So happy for this day as we continue to celebrate and recognize Mental Health Awareness Month. And I want to start off thanking God for waking me up to see another day I've never seen before. I thank God for the travels, allowed me to see another day, to get it right. Another day to tell friends, family, and people I love and respect, I love you, and I do. So listen, this has been a great, I took a little suavecation again. Went up to DC, went up to Maryland, visited the African American Museum. Spent some time in Virginia, family, friends, and loved ones. Snuck up on my young cousin, man, Tobias Parker. He graduated from BUU last year. Always been so proud of him. You know, he's a great young man, always driven. And he played ball. He was the captain of the football team, but he continued to strive. And I'm just so proud of him. And Mental Health Awareness Week. And again, this is one of the things that a lot of times people just don't realize. And I think it's such stigma on mental health. But let me tell you, we have to learn to get some psychoeducation. We got to start learning and see certain things could make our lives a better version of it. But we have to recognize little signs. And this is why it's always important to have accountability partners to watch little awkward things you do or little things. So speaking of little things, tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about hoarding. Yes, hoarding. Also attention-seeking behaviors. And this is a lot of the things that people don't pay attention to. But as I say, this episodes before, and I will always say, anything going unaddressed progressively gets worse. It could be healthy mental health. It could be behaviors and relationships. It could be just eating habits or any habits. Just remember that keyword, habits. And when you don't learn how to monitor and be aware, have self-aware of habits, they sneak up on you and they get worse. So again, we're going to be talking about hoarding disorders and attention-seeking behaviors. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about attention-seeking behaviors because the stuff I've seen. But first, I'm going to get into the hoarding. And so what I want to start off by just talking about hoarding is just you got to be very mindful. You know how you start to buy the little shoes, the sneakers, the clothes. Next thing you know, you start having your little stuff in the closets. Next thing you know, you start using the other closet. Then you start using the car and all those things. These are the little things we're going to get deep into. I want you to be mindful because guess what? You may be a hoarder and don't know it. And so be mindful. I'm going to be discussing different levels of hoarding, but it's also 5 different levels of hoarding. So tell your friends, share this information. Tell them, I know it's a Heat game, so I want to give a special shout out to Heat. Go Heat beat those Celtics because I know we'll do a great make our city proud because go Heat. I'm currently living in Atlanta right now, but Heat is my team. So let's get into it. So what I'm gonna do is I have some videos I want to present before we go into all the details because I wanted you to get a little idea because I noticed when people always looking at hoarding, they always go to the extreme. They're like any other mental health issue. They go to the extreme. They say, well, you ask somebody depressed. No, I'm not depressed. Because they look at it to the old extreme where they incapacitated, can't do it. But depression or mental health comes in all many different forms. And so we're going to actually show a quick video, and then I'll be right back. Okay. Well, hopefully we can get the video on, but again, I'm going to go into, again, just be mindful of those little things that sneak up on you. Again, I told you, you're buying those little things.
My leopard jeans.
Oh, there you go, right.
Mountains of clothes, brand new shoes never worn. Inside Monty's beautiful 4,000 square foot home in Tulsa, Oklahoma, thousands of dollars worth of high-end items. Monty was suffering from a shopping addiction until she was saved by an intervention from the TLC show Hoarding Buried Alive.
I'm keeping an absolute humongous secret. I would consider myself maybe a high-end, upscale, couture type hoarder. This is my entryway. I'm using it as a closet. As you can see, I have shoes. I have lots of shoes. I was turning into somebody I didn't want to be.
How much money do you think you spent on all this stuff?
I would say easily $500,000. 62, 63.
Monty had declared bankruptcy, but the problem continued to spiral out of control as she continued shopping, spending beyond her means, hoarding to the point her home was unlivable.
People who hoard often have 20% more trauma than the average person. In Monty's case, it was precipitated by a divorce.
Still have a little work to do. But meeting Monty today, she's a changed woman who still has to work every day to conquer her affliction. I can move this.
I've maneuvered this stuff. There. Here was a dreamy to sleep on. As sad as it may be, I used to sleep down here where we're walking right now.
Believe it or not, this is one of the last rooms left to clear out, 3 months removed from her darkest moment.
This is the closet.
While the closets may be organized and clean, there are still reminders. I still do see some tags on some.
There are some tags.
How many pairs of shoes at your lowest low did you have?
It's got to be in the hundreds for sure.
5, 6, 7, 800?
Probably around the 500 range. This is the kitchen.
It's been 3 months and Monty is on the road to recovery.
I don't really think that I cared that much about the stuff. It was more about just the pursuit of it.
Our thanks to Cameron Matheson. And Hoarding Buried Alive airs Sunday nights on TLC.
Wow. As you see, the young lady, again, you see, she shops, she spends, and believe it or not, as you saw, it's probably way worse. And you see how I cleaned it up? She cleaned it up. But again, this cycle repeats itself until you really get treatment. And you treat that like any other mental health, not any mental health, but any other diagnosis. So you got to be consistent with it. But you see, hoarding is serious. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not that bad. Again, as I say, we're going to be going into 5 levels. We have 5 levels. And as you see, she's obviously a level 5. I'm going to give you a little details about it. But, and you see thousands of dollars. This is not just rich people. Anybody who makes decent amount of money and have a consistent paycheck, trust, that could be you. It can be me, and what I do is try to pride myself and try. A lot of people sit there and say I'm a minimalist, and I know I'm not. They just really don't know, because I have things, and I try to be mindful of not having too many things, because again, things, if you don't have self-awareness, this stuff will sneak up on you. As you see, this lady had thousands. At her lowest point, she had about 500 pair of shoes. Just imagine what it looked like, or her inventory before she did the episode. And so these things are shopping addictions. And I always tell people about, how people treat addictions so differently. Well, sex addiction is treated with a lot more harsh way of approaching, versus when people have eating addictions or drinking addictions or drug addictions and shopping addictions. But the bottom line is all of them are mental health issues, and all of them are addictions. So addiction is anything that affects your life, your family, your livelihood, your occupation, and your money and your resources. It's just all of them have a first name. It's just like my last name is Walker. Hello, all of the Walker. So you could use the word addiction, and each Walker has a different first name. So one Walker could be the shopping addict. The other shopping could be the other Walker could be the eating addict. The other Walker can be the drinking addict. So again, understand this. So these addictions are serious, and the same thing with her issues. So I have one more I would like to go through, and this happens to be a person that many of us know in the hip hop industry from my hometown. And again, this is some things that this does not just affect the poor, the known, the unknown, but it affects anybody, because anybody can have these issues. And again, I'm going to go in detail, but I want to watch this little quick post. Okay.
I'm trying to organize some of man, I got spilling out every goddamn where, man. We got come on, man. Y'all tell me. Come on, man. Should Rose have a damn yard sale?
Yes.
I'm talking about all the closets full, all over the. Come on, man. It's like I'm fighting through shoes. Listen. No, this ain't a hoarder. This rich going on right here. Don't get it twisted. But I'm not finna be caged in, not being able to. Come on, man. I still got. This was one day worth of, and I still got at least 2 more days worth of. And like, come on, man. We better than this, guys. Come on, man. We better than this, guys.
Okay. Okay, as you see, guys, many of you probably recognize that voice. That's Rick Ross, Rose, and you can hear the being conflicted and recognizing that there is a problem, but having an issue, because again, there's such a stigma on a diagnosis. So people, you can hear them acknowledging that this is a problem, that it is hoarding, because a lot of times the first thing people say is, well, it's not. And so he said, I'm not a hoarder. Well, it's pretty apparent it is. And like numbers don't lie, as we can see, there is obvious an issue. So when he was saying, I'm not finna be caged in, as you see. And when we talk about the stages, I'm going to go address all those stages, and you're going to identify what you saw on both videos. And as you see, he was saying he's better than that. So again, we're better than we are when we put the work into addressing the issue. So again, if this issue is not addressed, it's just going to continue. And so it's very important that these people have support systems, have accountability partners, and have people that can really address it, because it's just only going to get worse when you have the resources. When you have those type of resources, try to invest some of those resources in addressing the issue. And you can't blame anybody when they have that level of wealth. They like to have nice things. And again, but everything has to be done in moderation. And that's so important. So I'm going to start off again, defining what hoarding is in the simplest terms. Okay, hoarding is just the inability to let go of excessive stuff. As you see, both parties had so much stuff, but the issue is struggling to get rid of all that excess. And so, many are in denial about their hoarder, because most people identify with any mental illness or hoarding specifically is to the extreme. And this is why we have to learn about the levels. And as you see, two of them, these were level 5s. One was a lot worse than the other. But again, it's hoarding, regardless of how each one of them want to see it. It is hoarding. So trust, like I always say, anything going unaddressed progressively gets worse. So the more resources, the more they ignore the problems, the worse it gets. So if you don't address the issue, you may become the person that you see on TV that you're in denial about becoming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my old DSM-5, it has changed, and give you the clinical term of hoarding disorder. I'm just going to read a few. It's about 6 of them, but I'm just going to read 3. It's persistent difficulty discarding or parting with possessions, regardless of their actual value. And B is the difficulty is due to a perceived need to save the items and distress associated with discarding them. And C is the difficulty discarding possessions results in an accumulation of possessions that congest and clutter active living areas and substantially compromise their intended use. And again, that you see, the living areas were completely cluttered. It can't move. And you remember you heard Rose say, I can't be caged in, because when you have in these areas, you can't move. You can't go. And so I'm going to talk about this. So again, most people don't realize they're hoarders, but they really are. So so what I'm going to do is go into the 5 stages. Again, as I said, 5 stages. And these are some of the signs that you'll realize that you may be a hoarder. The first one, like again, is like when I talk about trauma. And so many people say they're not traumatized because they always look at it as the extreme. And everybody has experienced some form of trauma. It's just some people have had traumas that's so bad that it really significantly impacted their life in the most negative way and incapacitated them to a certain level. But when it comes to this hoarding, when you sit there, and this is why a lot of us, anybody can be a hoarder when you find out the basic terms of it. So now, stage 1, light clutter. Little things are in the way, not washing your dishes, not cleaning up. No real noticeable odors, and your doors, stuff like that is accessible. The windows accessible, and chairs. But the thing is, when you start using those things, so that's just level 1, very basic, very, very basic. Where you can sit there. I'm not a hoarder because you're not realizing the little things. It's like viruses. The little things become the most significant. So you got to pay attention to the little details. Okay, stage 2. Now watch this, overflowing garbage and trash cans. See, we didn't went from stage 1 that didn't seem like any noticeable signs, but now we're in stage 2. Your counter, dirty food on the counter. You know, when you're prepping food and you just leaving it on there to the next day, you have dishes like, I'll get to it the next day. And sometimes the next day could be the next day and the next day. But these little things sneaking up on you when you cut up vegetables and everything, or the peelings, you just leave it on the counter. You say, I clean it up. And then sometimes you just throw it all in the sink. You know, we all been guilty of that. But the one thing is, you have to clean up behind yourself. And here's another one. This is one of these signs that a lot of hoarders don't realize. And again, most people make more excuses than resolutions. And this is the thing. And you say, well, think about the dishes, just little things, but evidence of pets. And you say, well, I can't help it. I have pet hair and pets. But, you know, same thing when they having a hard time getting rid of items. Same way sometimes they have a hard time getting rid of animals. And, you know, you hear the people say, oh, that's the cat lady. And if you notice, their house is congested and all the areas are blocked, but also have excess animals. Same thing when we're going to get into details about products and material things. And also visible pet mess or waste. Yes, you don't see a whole bunch of litter boxes in those houses in the cat lady house. When you see hoarders, you see some of them have a lot of animals. Have you seen it on animal control movies? The houses look just like hoarders, but we were so focused on the animals, we forgot to take a real look at the house. And if you see the cats be in those cages or the dogs be in the cages, and they have cages everywhere. And these are the little things. So that is stage 2. Now, stage 3. Stage 3. Again, when I mentioned at the beginning of the stage, beginning of the show, when you start having all these rooms, you start using your room, your closet. Next thing you know, you start using the extra closet. If you have children, you start using their closet. But what about the people who just have that room? That room, ladies and gentlemen, that room is not meant to be a storage place. That room is meant for your guests. But anyway, you start having that at least one unusable room, and it's packed, and you can't even use it anymore. It's just packed with things. And then you see all this visible clutter all outside the house. Bikes, things around. You're not going to use that bike again. Tires, oh my God, tires. Cars that you're not going to use again. Your car has been sitting there. Then you get another car sitting there. And I'm going to go about the cars when I talk about how hoarding is costly. And then you have these odors in the house. Anything that sits for a while start to get odors, in addition to all the other things that you have from animals and clothes that you wore. And then you just bought more and you just threw them in the dirty clothes. And that next thing you know, they just pack it because you're constantly buying. Remember, the issue is not letting go of things that hold no value. And they may hold value to you, but we'll talk about that. And then bug infestation. Food. When you have food and start leaving it here, start leaving it there. Again, you may have an upstairs house. You don't want to go downstairs, so you leave the food on the nightstand, up top of the counter. Those are the things that brings in bugs. And then what you do, you may have a fly swatter spray, and you have all those bugs all in your windowsill, on the floor. If you have roaches or whatever, you spray, you don't clean up behind it. These are the little things in stage 3 that sneaks up on you. And you don't even realize it. See how, again, it's getting worse and worse. And then you have stage 4. You thought stage 3 was bad. The stage 4, again, the rotting of food in your refrigerator, in your sink, as I told you, from the old dishes. And again, that clutter, all that food you buy, and you buy. You go out to dinner, bring the containers, you're not going to eat it. But having a lack of self-awareness, you put it in there. So think about week after week, month after month, and you're constantly buying. And one thing I wanted to add on, this is not really talking about stage 4, is being aware of your impulse control issues. You never go to the store without buying something. This is why people will tell me, well, you OCD. No, you don't even know what it is. You just learning stuff from the streets. I'm organized. And when you're organized, I know what I have. And I don't want to have excess because I can always just go to the store and get another one. But in the hoarder's mind, they always feel the need to have extra. And so they have that refrigerator stuff, and then them cabinets. Oh my God, those cabinets have all the salts, all the seasonings. And again, the impulse control is because every time you go somewhere, I got to try this. I got to try that. I guarantee this would be good. I guarantee this would be good. You're barely cooking because you're so impulsive. You don't even think about cooking, but you're always buying cooking product or household products. So now, not only is your refrigerator overcrowded, you don't even know what's in the back of it. You have stuff in there, and then you start putting things inside the doors. Your cabinets are full. filled with oils, salts, seasonings, all these different canned goods. And then you constantly buying. But guess what? Your freezer. Because when you go into the store anyway, all the time, and you're buying meats. You got probably so many meats in there. The meats are freezer burnt. They're freezer burnt, for God's sake. But guess what? You still buy them, and you never use them. So again, the same way the refrigerator, you have things in the front, and you have things in the back that you never use. Same thing with those meats. You just buying, and in your head, oh, I need this, I need that. This is what I'm saying. You shouldn't have so much because you won't know what you have. And it gets worse every year. And not just that, in your mind now, remember mental health. A lot of times people buy a deep freezer. Mind you, they haven't touched those things in their freezer for maybe years. And the same thing happens with the deep freezer. You put stuff all the way at the bottom, and you constantly putting things in there. You don't know what you have because you never get a chance to recycle your inventory because you're just stacking clutter. The same thing, layers of mental health issues. You have to be mindful. This is why sometimes as a therapist, we have to just pull down those layers, years of issues, years and years of trauma, years and years of ignoring things. And this is what hoarders does. They do this all the time. So back to stage 4, again, the rotting of food, not cleaning the dishes or the garbage. Garbage has smell, overflowing. And I must say, the garbage is something I hate throwing out, but I get it out, but as soon as I get there, I like, let me just put a little more stuff in there, and then I'll throw it out. And again, these are little characteristics. If you don't pay attention, you'll find yourself repeating these patterns. Okay. And then here's the thing. Remember stage 1, you having these clear doors and exits. This is when you have more than one exit block. And what do I mean by that? You have so much stuff. You start putting things everywhere. And it could be in front of a door, an exit door. A lot of times it's the back door. Because, when you put it here, then you start moving stuff more and more. That back door no longer has use. It no longer has use because you're constantly doing, and this is how it is. And so now that uses a storage area. And then you start packing it up higher and higher. So if someone had to come in, they couldn't. And so these are the signs. So then you start having structural damage to your house. I mean, we all seen the houses that look like they're leaning because, and you see all the stuff in the, all the things, the bikes, the cars, tools, just wood everywhere. And you start seeing structural damage because again, they never address anything. When the rain and everything, all that creates structural damage. And that's evidence that it's too much stuff in the house. It's too much stuff. It's getting wet and it's molding and it's decaying things. And again, and then you have like the garage is just filled with stuff. Oh my God. And it's everything in there except what needs to be in there. And I'm telling you, so what happens is if you hear what I'm saying, you start processing your habits. Again, I went slow from 1 to 4, and this stuff really sneaks up on you. And you started buying all these shoes and and that shoes are outside too. So again, that is stage 4. But no, it's more to stage 4. And trust, a lot of times, as you mentioned on that, as the video said, the lady went into bankruptcy. She's spending up money. The hoarder's doing the same thing. They're not paying their bills. They don't know what their bills are. They have no idea how to even, like, where are they? And when you understand the cause of hoarding, you understand and how hoarders see certain things and materials, and they see and process things completely different. than most people. And again, they put high value on things differently than the average person. So they don't pay their bills. A lot of times there's no running water. And you notice water is just constantly doing things. Have you seen some of them hoarder shows? It's no running water. The bathroom, the tub is actually used as storage spots. So, and the bathroom, and remember I said no, all the areas are blocked. And each area of the house is used as a storage place. So again, and you also sometimes see noticeable human feces, because again, they don't use the bathroom because it's cluttered. So they don't take baths. Again, these are the things, and I haven't even got to stage 5. So what I'm gonna do is go to stage 5 after we do a station identification. And we're back in social therapy with Dr. Brother Suave as we just continue to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Week, month, and we're going to be continuing with the stages of hoarding. So we was on the last one as I went into details about stage 4. Pretty much covered everything that would be consistent with stage 5. But the thing is, this is the one that most people identify with, and that's stage 5 when they have everything, as we saw the two videos we saw. And so this is when there's like ladies like no usable rooms, and so those cases were not as bad, but the kind we see was no usable room, everything's significant structure to the house, no running water, as I mentioned on stage 4, and the rotting foods and everything. So everything is completely damaged, and that makes the house unhabitable. That's when the authorities have to come in and move you out, because it's at the point. And I don't know if anybody know over there off 175th Street in Carroll City. It was a house on 175th and like 34th Terrace or something like that. I was there last month. That house has been taken down and redone. I was like, what happened to the hoarder house? And these are examples. So when you find yourself in those situations, man, try to get help. Really, you got to get help, because you're having all these things and you don't even realize how it sneaks up on you. I mean, it really is really bad. And sometimes you have different types of people who don't want help, and that's why the authorities have to come in. And the same thing when people have court order mental health treatment, because so many people, it's such a stigma, and people rather just destroy their lives and lives of others before they seek help. And so it's important that we do those things. And so we like to have a lot of stuff, but what's important is having the appropriate amount of stuff, And so sometimes we have so much excess of things, as I mentioned, the condiments, the glasses, the dishes, the food, the shoes, all the little makeups. Oh my God, makeups, lipsticks, magazines, jewelry, and that cluttered drawer. Everyone has it. It has a cluttered drawer, could be in the kitchen or on those nightstands. These are little things, I'm telling you. This stuff sneaks up on you, and you're like, oh my God. And you have to be mindful. So we hold on to these things because what we do is we convince ourselves that maybe one day you may need it. And that's the funny, because one of the most dangerous things, and I say in our vocabulary, is just in case. And that goes for the hoarder. Just in case I may need it. And this is what you put in your brain. I may need it one day. It's like you have that container. You buy the containers and you sitting there like looking for the top. Not going to find it. You didn't find it 2 or 3 days. Just discard it. This stuff is so, like I said earlier, it's so inexpensive to replace. And not only buying containers, but not controlling your impulse by constantly buying it, but you're saving them. Like when you go to the Chinese restaurants or when you go to those stores that have the containers, you save those too. And before you know, you got a hole under your cabinet filled, and then you got them upstairs, above your refrigerator and everywhere. But you find some way, again, how to justify holding on to things. And so just remember those 3 words, just in case. Is that in your head? Just, I may need it. I may need it. And this is what you say to yourself, but you never do. And see, hoarders find some way to justify everything. And when I say everything, everything. The one thing that I realized about hoarding is that many people are financially stable. As I mentioned, the 2 people, you can't hoard if you didn't have all that money. And even the ones went bankrupt, they still had money. And, and so when you have money, it could be anybody. They start accumulating more and more things. I mean, anybody ever go to the store and they have those things right before you check out? And those are impulse items, they call them. And if you pay close attention, this is why people don't like to be stereotyped. And if you look closely, I'm going to talk about who this impacts more later on during the show, and you're going to see. But if the impulse items, if you look close and pay close attention to the theme of those things, they target it towards women, because women have control impulse issues. And it's no attack. It's not me saying anything, but these are the things The studies show. And so if you look, all those things are in posts, and the theme is they gender oriented, because they know you'll go shopping, but you'll still sit there. Let me get this. Oh wow, let me get this. Pay close attention. And so again, those things that you keep buying, they easily replace. So don't, you don't have to worry about those things, but you're constantly buying them. And so when you have mental health issues, it ain't just one or two. It's a combination of things. But a lot of times you don't have people who are close to you and want to address those things. And if you don't address it, it's going to be a problem. And like I said, anybody who has financial security, getting a check every 2 weeks, every month, year in and year out, they're going to have a lot of things. So imagine people who have unlimited resources, as we saw in Rose. And another thing, we're talking about people who are regular people who mental health issues get worse. And I said things are environmental, things are organic, and things are learned. Stars are constantly buying things. And then we're doing things, trying to sometimes, how you doing, Brother Wally, and trying to do what they do. And if you're not realizing, stars will never wear things twice. So you just imagine 365 days a year. And they're constantly buying things. Thank you, Brother Fred. You're constantly buying things. Again, they're not getting rid of things, but they're constantly accumulating things. So as Rose say, do I need to go on a yard sale? Yeah, brother, or donate. You can use that as a tax write-off. You can use that stuff as a tax write-off. But again, you have money, you're spending, and it's just what happens. And so, so personally, I do spring cleaning 4 times a year. Anybody know? I do a yard sale twice a year, sometimes 4, and just getting rid of things because I don't want to. Again, self-awareness. And if I'm buying things throughout the year, I need to be getting rid of things, or else I will have accumulation of things, and that's how it sneaks up on you. So you have to be aware. So I don't. I give away things, I sell things, and just do it 4 times a year. And believe it or not, every time I do it, I find something that has less value to me, and it no longer is important to me. So I get rid of it. And the thing is, stop rationalizing that you're going to wear those running shoes after you just bought some running shoes. Running shoes are comfortable anyway when you buy them. That's why you go and try them on. They're running shoes. They made for that purpose. So no need to hold on to the old ones. Get rid of them. And this is how it is when you have as I went into the clinical definition of hoarding, and sometimes you just got to get rid of things and stop holding on to all those miscellaneous things. So I say I find myself doing these yard sales, and how you get rid of things and don't bring it back in the house is find a way to make an offer they can't refuse. So let's say, again, hoarders and people with mental health issues are always finding any kind of way to justify why something has more value to it, or why something is so important, and why they want to keep it. Well, again, they have strong emotional attachment to objects. So they're going to have a hard time getting rid of it. They may have three of these, but just in case I lose this one, at least I have another one. You're not going to. And if you can always buy another one. How much it cost? $5? So back to the making offers they can't refuse. So you have your shoes, you got your sneakers, you got your Air Force Ones, you have your boots, you have all that. Make the offer. So yes, I know you paid $200, $300, $400 for your Air Force Ones. And again, hoarders who label themselves collectors, you're not the only one with that 1 or 2 pair of Jordans. There are collectors all throughout the country and the world. And if you're not in that business trying to do it, but again, you're going to find somewhere to justify why you're keeping them. Get rid of it. Because all they're doing is wasting your time and your space and your money. And I'm gonna go into that. So nobody's gonna turn away a pair of $300 Jordans for $20. Like I said, you're spending money all the time because you have the resources. You're not going to get your worth out of it. Just get rid of it. And this is how you can minimize having so much stuff in your house. Because we all know it's a bunch of sneakerheads out here. Their closets are filled from top to bottom, under their beds, same way in their garages, in their basements, in their attics. They're everywhere. And guess what? If they everywhere, you don't see them. What they say, the old thing, out of sight, out of mind. And they don't get a chance to see them. Like, oh God, they have so many. So again, they come up with every reason. That's why I say you do spring cleaning 4 times a year. You get a chance to see the things that you really forgot all about and you don't need it. So out of sight, out of mind, get rid of it. Okay. So again, get rid of those things and make offers they can't refuse. And that helps you get rid of things, and again, you help yourself. You minimize stuff, and see. But the thing is, when you're not organized, you find yourself buying things you already have. As I mentioned earlier about all those salts and seasonings and all those things, makeup, lotions, Bed Bath and Beyond. Oh my God, and sneakers, bras, and all those things. Listen. Stop going to sales. You already have enough things. So again, remember I say mental health issues is not just one. So now, impulse control issues. We mentioned the hoarding, and being able to not, and addictions to shopping. So you have to be mindful. So you right there, you're already about three mental health issues. So don't think it's just hoarding. It's a combination of things. And so you start buying stuff and you never use. And like the lady said, she had about 500 pair of shoes as her lowest. And when the guy was actually still had tags on them. You know, trust, it's an issue and it's important that you go. And again, like I said, you're always spending. And you're really wasting your time, your space, and your money. And that refrigerator, stop. Get you someone, bring them to your house, and get you someone to get you some help. It is important. Stop the buying. There are therapists out there. There are professionals to help you with your hoarding needs, your impulsive needs, your addictions, all these things. You have access to them. You know, we spend a lot of time doing things just for pleasure, but we have to be very mindful of our mental health needs. It's so important. So my last part on hoarding is finding out the habits that are costing you money. Okay? As I mentioned earlier, I said I would come back to this point. So remember, as I said, hoarding in simplest terms is your inability to get rid of excess things, you know, and habits is the key word. And they sneak up on you. Like I remember Alice Baldwin would say, unbeknownst to you, you know, and so you start shopping for all these items that you just don't need. Remember, you spend time going shopping, you waste money on buying things you really don't need. And you get home, you don't have the space. And so those little closets, those little walking, the rooms, you can't use them because they just used up. And these are the things. So that's why I always say it's important to be organized. Know what you have the least amount of things as possible, and don't clutter and don't overdo it. And when people look at my cabinets, people are like, oh, that's OCD. And I said, look closely. They say, what? I said, look closely. You know what they say? They said, man, I can see every front label. Why you got to be so organized? I don't think before you say. And I said, is it sinking in? And what they normally say, I can see the front label, and I can see you have one of each. See? Yes, there's a method behind it. So I have the labels facing forward so I can know what I have, what's running low, and what I do not need to repeat on. See? They're looking at it as OCD. I'm looking at it as organized, because I don't have to keep buying garlic powder when I got garlic powder. I don't have to keep buying dill salt because I have dill salt. I don't have to keep buying cayenne pepper because I have it and I can see it. And when you have that space, you're like, okay, you can look on each one and say, okay, I have this. I don't need to buy it. But I can clearly see what I need in my inventory and what I don't need. Same thing with a refrigerator. I don't have a cluttered refrigerator. I have a refrigerator just with a few things in it. And again, grocery store is 5 minutes away if I need something. And I know people always say, what about hurricanes? We always trying to argue exceptions. What about a storm? We always trying to argue exceptions. Again, that's what hoarders and people have issues and addictions and mental health issues. They always find that have, and I say those dangerous words, just in case. And I once knew a person, hurricane or not, they constantly bought water, and the water took up their whole kitchen and the napkins. I've seen people have napkins in their garages for years. Like, man, those napkins been there since, last year, the year before. Well, just in case, you never know. Why don't you use those and keep buying? But again, this is what hoarders do. And they always put in issues about OCD, but they don't realize they can look at and look and perceive it as OCD, but not realizing that's organization. And so again, buying all these things, and they really don't understand the significance of order and being structured. And number two is stop buying things that you never, ever use. This is the obvious sign of impulse control issues. They're just going to sit in your house and use up space. Again, as you see, buying stuff, sales. You go to Bed Bath & Beyond. You don't need that stuff. You go to Walmart or Target. You see a sale. You don't need this stuff. You already got a drawer full of drawers. And people always say, excuse, well, you're never going to have too many drawers. Well, you can, because, again, they actually have 6, 7 in a pack or whatever. Just buy a pack of drawers. You don't need to keep having them over and over and over. But again, there's always an excuse for everything, And so again, stop buying things that you have no use for. And the last one, those junk rooms, those junk drawers, those junk trunks, and those closets. Y'all know, again, that extra room is not for storage. It's for your guests. And when you have that when I say that trunk, why do you have that? You're just storing stuff in it for no reason. I mean, I just in my office, I just got me a new cabinet. I got rid of 3 boxes of papers. Again, I do quarterly, and so I find papers that I just don't need anymore. They hold no more value, so I get rid of them. And so me getting ready, I had bought another house, and I had things that I didn't get rid of that I had maybe a year or so. They're gone now. So again, you got to get rid of things and stop holding on to things that just really holds no values. And remember, the average person has hundreds and thousands of dollars of unworn clothes. And it's obviously, it's an issue. I have a cousin, man, one of my favorite. He's always like, I got a problem, dog. And it's funny, but I usually benefit from it. So I appreciate him ever since. But again, it's very important that you just don't constantly spend money and buying things. As I say, waste your time, money, and space. So when you start to waste time, money, and space, there's a high probability that you're not going to wear it, and it's going to be out of style. And people who into fashion, don't think you're going to be wearing last season's clothes, because you're not. And don't think you're going to wear last winter's jackets, because you're not. You're just spending time rationalizing and justifying everything. So I wanted to talk about attention-seeking behaviors, because it's, the clinical term for it, histrionic personality disorder, but we all know the attention-seeking behaviors. But I can probably follow up that next week, because there was definitely a lot of things I discussed on it. As I said, I was going to discuss on hoarding disorders, and it was a lot. And a lot of times, if you have friends and family members, and we know who they are, when you start seeing stuff in the car, you go to your relative's house, they just got entirely too many things. And then again, impulse control issues, having a difficult time to say no, and another mental health, people pleasers. People always giving them things, and they just can't say no. Things are offered to them for free, they can't say no. Next thing you know, they got a house full of things. It's a deal out there, they can't say no. Say no to a lot of those things, okay? So I hope you guys got something out of the psychoeducation. It's social therapy with Dr. Brother Suave. This has been a mind-blowing, thought-provoking, and eye-opening experience. So just remember, great minds reach great places. I love you. I mean it. Bye-bye.
This program was made possible by Neighborhood Planet Broadcasting Systems, Neighborhood Planet Network, and from contributions to NPN TV from viewers like you.